गुड इवनिंग एंड वेलकम टू गनर शॉट। गनर शॉट में आप सबका दोबारा स्वागत है। प्रणाम, जय हिंद एंड वणक्कम। आज दोबारा हम बात करने वाले हैं द एंड ऑफ चाइनाज 100-year मैराथन, और आज हम बात करेंगे जियोपॉलिटिकल स्प्लिट्स के बारे में, और ये पार्ट 5 है। और इसके बारे में चर्चा करने के लिए मेरे साथ हैं मिस्टर श्री अय्यर पी गुरुस के साथ। Good evening, Sree Iyer ji. Welcome to this new episode of ours. It's our joint episode. Fifth episode. Very interesting. And before I talk, your views, and then we'll get going.
नमस्कार, सत श्री अकाल, राम राम सभी दर्शकों को, और आपको भी जनरल साहब, and it's always a pleasure and an honor to be part of this discussion where we are combining. It is available live right now in both Gunner Shot and P Gurus. A small request to all of you to like this video wherever you are watching it, whether it is Gunner Shot or in P Gurus. And if you are not subscribed to the other channel, like say you're subscribed to P Gurus but not Gunner Shot or vice versa, do subscribe to that channel also. General Ravi Shankar is bringing some excellent talent that gives you a fairly good 360-degree view about how the defense forces of India work, what is the thinking that goes into it, much better appreciation. While you sleep at night, somebody is guarding your back. That's the most important thing that India needs to appreciate, and I would say that for any country in the world. So thank you so much, General Ravi Shankar, for bringing this. I'm really keen on how we are going to, अब किस तरह से हम इस बात को सामने ले जाने वाले हैं, क्योंकि आजकल देखिए इतने हॉटस्पॉट्स हो गए हैं। तो इसमें बहुत ही एक इम्पोर्टेंट चीज जो हुई शी जिनपिंग और बाइडेन की मीटिंग में, इसके बारे में किसी ने अब तक बात भी नहीं किया, और वो ये कि शी जिनपिंग ने $800 बिलियन की मदद मांगी है यूएस से। $800 बिलियन। कब से हम कहते आ रहे हैं चाइना में कुछ गड़बड़ है, कुछ तो गड़बड़ है, कुछ वो गड़बड़ है, ये बाहर आया है। ओवर टू यू सर।
या ये बिल्कुल मैं बताना चाहता हूँ जो श्री अय्यर जी ने बताया। दो चीज, चाइना में गड़बड़ है, इसीलिए मैंने ये सीरीज शुरू किया था, क्योंकि आई बीन ए स्टूडेंट ऑफ चाइना फॉर द पास्ट 20 years। पिछले 20 साल से चाइना पढ़ रहा हूँ, राइट। इनफैक्ट पिछले 40 साल से पढ़ रहा हूँ चाइना के बारे में, क्योंकि पहले 20-25 साल मैंने चाइना को एक सरहद के पार देखा, ऊपर काराकोरम से लेकर किबितुक तक, राइट। और अभी रिटायर होने के बाद और लास्ट फ्यू इयर्स ऑफ माय सर्विस उनको चारों तरफ से देखना शुरू किया, और तब से मेरे को पता था कि कुछ गड़बड़ है, और ये आजकल साबित हो रहा है, और इसीलिए मैंने ये सीरीज शुरू किया था। दूसरी बात, गनर शॉट में मैं बताना चाहता हूँ द बेस्ट ऑफ द डिफेंस फोर्सेस, बेस्ट ऑफ द एम्बेसडर्स, बेस्ट ऑफ सिविल सर्वेंट्स and best of the experts will come on Gunner Shot and talk, और मैं फैक्ट बेस्ड एनालिसिस ही करता हूँ। और अभी मैं बता रहा था, कल ही मैंने एक वीडियो किया था मणिपुर और म्यांमार के बारे में with General Shaukin Chauhan, who was the DG Assam Rifles. In fact, yesterday we did it. Today is going to Singapore. So I said we'll repeat it through P Gurus kuch din ke baad, but we'll do it, because what is happening there is something which we should all know. And but for now we'll talk of China, और चाइना में क्या हो रहा है ये देखने वाली बात है। और क्योंकि चाइना में ये जो जियोपॉलिटिकल इश्यूज जो है वो बढ़ रहे हैं। सबसे पहले मैं बताना चाहता हूँ, जो अभी श्री अय्यर जी ने बताया कि उन्होंने मदद मांगा $800 बिलियन का फ्रॉम यूएस से। ये देखिए, ये आर्टिकल निकला 2 दिन पहले, ये बड़ा क्लियर है। इट्स अ फैंटास्टिक एनालिसिस बेस्ड ऑन चाइनीज इंफॉर्मेशन, चाइनीज डेटा। चाइना's rise is reversing, और इस आर्टिकल में ये बताया गया है वेरी इंटरेस्टिंगली कि द शेयर ऑफ चाइना in the global GDP is decreasing. In the past 2 years, it has decreased. While China remains a big contributor to the global GDP, others have grown, including USA, India, and Argentina, and all the Indonesia, Malaysia, and all. But China has contracted. Relatively, China is losing its traction. And that is something which many of us don't understand, and we are not probably getting the hang of what this is. I would suggest everyone to read this article. Okay. And the second, this is from South China Morning Post. You just see it's a dream being pricked of China going up. Chinese stocks have been $955 billion blunder in 2023 for market forecasters. So what you see in China is that there are losses all around. We in our mind have not got out of that idea that China is rising. Actually, China is not rising, it is going down. Okay, we'll continue with our series of this 100-year marathon, and I'll go through the presentation and then we can discuss.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this 100-year marathon, if you remember, I spoke and I said that's what their plan was, to become a superpower and all that. But when you analyze China, you look at these 6 entities: demography, ideology, structural issues, climate change, geopolitical splits, and the military. We've gone through one by one. When we looked at the demography, that was the first one, some 3-4 weeks back, we found that the nation, कोई भी देश जो है वो आदमियों से बनता है, लोगों से बनता है. ये जो one child policy है, it has consigned China to an irrevocable demographic decline. इनका population जो है घट रहा है. इसका birth rate जो है 1.06 ही है. आम birth rate, replacement birth rate 2.1 होना चाहिए, इसका आधा. और working age population, aging और ये birth rates वगैरह, it's at the fastest rate in human history decline. तो बिल्कुल राइट. और ये यूएन के चार्ट्स हैं, इसके मुताबिक देखिए सारा ग्राफ नीचे जा रहा है, सिवाय द ओनली मेट्रिक व्हिच इज गोइंग अप इज ओल्ड एज पॉपुलेशन. ये चाइना 2030 के बाद बूढ़ों का देश हो जाएगा. राइट. जहां तक इसका आइडियोलॉजी है, हमने देखा कि चाइना ग्रू एस्ट्रोनॉमिकली इन द पोस्ट माओ एरा, बट द सीसीपी वाज लूजिंग कंट्रोल. Xi Jinping was appointed as a general secretary of the party to restore state control and re-establish totalitarian power. In the process, पिछले 10 साल से he's eradicated all alternate centers of power. Political power has trumped economy. Important है ये. पहले आपने श्री अय्यर जी ने बताया कि ये एपेक मीट में क्या हुआ था, और जो मैंने आर्टिकल पहले दिखाया था, इसका इकोनॉमी डाउन होते जा रहा है रोज ब रोज. और पॉलिटिकल पावर इज मोर इंपॉर्टेंट एंड इंक्रीजिंग इंपॉर्टेंस ऑफ सिक्योरिटी लॉस. जब तक शी जिनपिंग पावर में है, ये अवस्था बदलेगी नहीं और चाइना का पावर घटता जाएगा. फिर हमने देखा इनका इकोनॉमिक स्ट्रक्चर. हमने इकोनॉमिक स्ट्रक्चर में बहुत चीजें देखा. हमने देखा इसका एक्सपोर्ट जल रहे हैं, जैसे ये कार्टून में दिखाया गया. राइट. इसका इन्वेस्टमेंट बाहर से हो नहीं रहा, पैसा बाहर जा रहा है. राइट. सर्विसेज बढ़ नहीं रहे हैं, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बनाए जा रहे हैं जो इनको जरूरत नहीं, उसमें पैसा डुबोए जा रहे हैं और पर कंजम्पशन नहीं हो. क्योंकि इनका द इकोनॉमिक स्ट्रक्चर ऑन विच द चाइनीज इकोनॉमिक स्ट्रक्चर is weak. It is lopsided, and they are not able to get out of that structure. And they don't have a new playbook for this, nor can they politically afford to change, because change means loss, a loss of GDP of up to 2 to 3%. This चौथा पार्ट में हमने देखा क्लाइमेट चेंज के बारे में. क्लाइमेट चेंज में देखा हमने कि चाइना में ये हालत है कि ड्राउट्स एंड फ्लड्स हैव बीन एंडेमिक टू चाइना फ्रॉम टाइम इमेमोरियल. चाइनीज डायनेस्टीज हैव कोलैप्स्ड ड्यू टू ड्राउट, फैमिन्स एंड फ्लड्स. अभी हाल में जो इनके फ्लड्स हुए और ड्राउट्स हुए, उसमें बहुत नुकसान हुआ है. और इनका ये बात बड़ा क्लियर निकला है कि फूड सिक्योरिटी, एनर्जी और ओवरऑल जीडीपी जो है ये घटने वाला है. क्यों? क्लाइमेट चेंज तो सबको असर पड़ेगा, पर चाइना में जो असर होने वाला है वो अलग है, क्योंकि उसका ज्योग्राफी एंड उनका जो क्लाइमेटिक स्ट्रक्चर इज क्वाइट अ बिट. डेजर्टिफिकेशन बढ़ रहा है. राइट. और ये सिर्फ मेरा और किसी का विचार नहीं है, ये एक वर्ल्ड बैंक का रिपोर्ट है जो मैंने उस वीडियो में पूरा दिखाया था। तो अभी हम देखेंगे जियोपॉलिटिकल स्प्लिट्स। 4 देख लिया, 5वां हम जियोपॉलिटिकल स्प्लिट्स देखेंगे। राइट, जैसे मैंने बताया, प्लीज सब्सक्राइब टू गना शॉट, और उसके साथ साथ प्लीज सब्सक्राइब टू पी गुरुस। जैसे श्री अय्यर जी ने बताया, अगर आप हमारे साथ सब्सक्राइब किए हो तो पी गुरुस में सब्सक्राइब कीजिए, अगर वहां सब्सक्राइब पी गुरुस में आप सब्सक्राइब करो तो यहाँ भी सब्सक्राइब कीजिए और मेंबर्स भी बनिए। ओके, अगर आप जियोपॉलिटिक्स देखेंगे, इन द प्री कोविड वर्ल्ड चाइना वाज सेट टू बिकम अ सुपर पावर एंड एवरीवन वाज वेलकमिंग इट। पर कोविड के दौरान जो वुल्फ वॉरियर बिहेवियर था, उससे इट बिल्ट डिस्ट्रस्ट and China posited a global threat. We all know China suppressed COVID-related information, because of which the whole world suffered. And then it carried out military assertion to usurp territories. ईस्टर्न लद्दाख में हमारे साथ प्रॉब्लम हुआ, साउथ चाइना सी में, और हांगकांग को तो हड़प ही लिया। और इसमें it violated all its international treaties and promises. खास करके हांगकांग के साथ। Hong Kong was to be under the second system rule up to 2050. That's gone. It was also carried out repeated military drills and enhanced naval and air activity in Taiwan Strait. And it has posed a military threat to all nations of the Western Pacific, including Japan, South Korea, Philippines, and Vietnam. Now, all these nations are antagonistic to China. Geopolitically, it has gone away from everyone. There's no trust. Relations are bad. Okay. Now let's see each of this. इसमें क्या क्या हुआ है, क्यों हुआ है, how has this geopolitical split happened? पहले देखिए internal isolation. What has China done? It has internally isolated people so that they can't go out and interact with the outside world at free will. They can't take their money out. They can't do anything. And they built that great firewall, internet wall, by which they don't know what's happening in the outside world. They only know what China is telling them. Now the next point, external isolation. So through this, the reverse process of this is, externally, no one can interact with China. And if they do interact with China, it is a controlled interaction. So the combination of these two what has happened, it has separated China from the rest of the world. Till such time the going was good, China was making money, but no more. Then it has had this global initiatives on security, global development initiative, global civilization initiative, and of course the BRI. Now all these initiatives started with haziness, and all of a sudden the true sense of all these initiatives have been coming out. As a result, people have lost trust in China, which I'm going to talk of later on also. Then there's been this thing of external hegemony, that it put out a new map where it wants part of India, full part of South China Sea, major parts of Taiwan and everything. And it has been militarily assertive all over. It has been carrying out naval drills, all that which I spoke about. Then the competition with USA. And this competition is IPR theft, intellectual. It's not only IPR theft, it is also academic theft, research theft in cutting edge technologies of AI, cyber, material technology, space technology, everything. It wants to bring out, push out USA and become the number one superpower. But that's not going to happen. But what has happened because of this competition is that it has gone and ruffled everyone's feathers. Today, in the past 3 years, the change is great and no one wants to do business with China. And during COVID, what started as de-risking, relocation of supply chains, today people are talking of decoupling and de-risking. Then, of course, the BRI debt trap. Hambantota, Sri Lanka, these are prime examples. It is not only this. Look at Pakistan. Pakistan has become a vassal state of China. And not only here, also in Africa. Look at Zambia, Gambia, Angola, Kenya, Tanzania. All these, Bolivia. Today I was reading, Bolivia is also under a debt trap with China. Now, all these countries today cannot buy anything from China, nor can they repay with China. So geopolitically, they are under coercion by China. They're not willing partners. Then, of course, its role in conflicts. On one hand, it says it supports Ukraine and wants Russia to come to a end game. But it has been supporting Russia on the other hand. It sent an envoy to EU and Russia. And finally, EU diplomat said, look, you're telling us the Russian story. You want us to agree to what Russia has said. So get lost. So China was marginalized there. And China is getting marginalized even in the Hamas Israel conflict. Though all the Arab nations have gone to China today. But then they are going to all of the big five. It's not only China. Right? China doesn't seem to have a role in the Middle East. Despite great this thing. So geopolitically, it's sitting on the sidelines. And then, of course, trust. It has violated all international norms, all treaties. It had promised that it will not build the South China Sea Islands, but it broke that promise. It had promised that they will allow Hong Kong to have one China and to function under the one China, two systems policy till 2015. It broke. So there's no trust. It says one thing and does another thing. So there's no trust. So geopolitically, China is completely, untrustworthy. And geopolitically, where there are splits, how can it, be a powerful nation? It can be a powerful nation for some, till a certain extent. After that, there is no way it can be as powerful as USA is. And off late, the thing is that it's not even as powerful as India in settling global affairs. Then, of course,
एक बात मैं, if you don't mind.
Yeah, please, बोलिए.
आप जरा पीछे जाइए, वो स्लाइड के जो सर्कल्स के जो स्लाइड थी वहां पर जाइए आप कृपया.
हाँ, देख जाएंगे.
इससे पहले वाला. तो मैं हिंदी में पूछना चाहता हूं. देखिए, ये जो कंपटीशन विद यूएसए है वो एक है, और रोल इन कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स में लोग सब जानते हैं कि शायद चाइना का सीधा हाथ ना हो हमास के साथ, लेकिन उसका जो डिफेंस चीफ था, जो कि सबकी जो स्ट्रेटेजाइज कर रहा था, उसके दो चीनी बीवियां हैं. वो दोनों को ना, वो यहाँ वो 20-25 साल से वो चाइना के साथ बहुत निकटतम काम किया है उसने. अब टनल्स में कई चीनी लोगों को पकड़ा गया है इजराइल से. और अब देखिए, इनके जो चमचे हैं, मैं चमचा बोलता हूं, मैं सीधी बोल देता हूं. सर जी, आप थोड़ा वो डिप्लोमेटिकली बोलते हैं, मैं तो बोलता हूं चमचा है. ईरान एक चमचा है, नॉर्थ कोरिया एक और चमचा है. इनके हाथों से, इनके नाम पर हुतीस को इन्होंने मिसाइल दिए हैं, और हमास को भी दिए हैं, हिजबुल्लाह को भी दिए हैं. तो जब इतना आपने यूएस के अगेंस्ट काम किया है, तो क्या मुंह लेकर शी जिनपिंग जाकर पूछ रहे हैं कि भैया बाबा मुझे $800 बिलियन का एक एड दे दे? तो ये मैं समझने में मेरी कोशिश हो रही. आप इतना ये करते हैं, आप वर्ल्ड ऑर्डर को से उसको उल्टा करने की कोशिश करते हैं, उसके बाद जाकर फिर आप भीख मांगते हैं. मुझे ये बात समझ में नहीं आ रहा है. थोड़ा आप इस पर थोड़ा और मे बी लिटिल बिट इनसाइट के, भाई क्या इस लेवरेज क्या है चाइना के लिए?
Look, the only leverage जो चाइना का है on USA is that the businesses and the financial structure and lot of things are tied with each other between China and USA. इन दोनों के क्यों ये जो पिछले 20 साल से ये जो गठबंधन है, इनका जो लिंक्स डेवलप हुए हैं, they can't be broken up overnight. A lot of items are still sourced from China. You can't get away from that. right? So China still, we have to realize that China is still a big economy. It's the second largest economy. And it is still, because of the 20 years, past 20 years, iska jo free run mila isko, it has established certain structures to its benefit, right? And you cannot get away from them. So it has the leverage of those structures. It has also occupied important positions in international organizations, it or its proxies. So there are leverages. So to a large extent, there are leverages. And of course, we have to remember, after the global financial crisis, it was USA which went to China to bail it out. Right? At that time, USA was in a bad shape. The relations between China and USA were good, and China did what it had to do. So it is getting a favor back. And in all fairness, I think USA is being magnanimous, because also we have to remember, if a country like China goes down too fast, there are going to be global repercussions, which are not good. So part of this decline of China is how we manage China's decline. Right?
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद sir. We can resume normal programming.
Yeah. So there is a huge dynamic to this, right? So we'll go over all this and see where it is going. Okay. Right. As part of its rejuvenation of this China dream, it wants to attack Taiwan. Then the China has held the world at ransom with its manufacturing prowess. This is the first operative part. It also answers the question जो आपने पूछा था कि what is the leverage? Its manufacturing prowess. You can still not get away with its exports have come down, but it's not zero. Now this has started a irreversible decoupling of de-risking process, and also USA has put in place sanctions and technology denial. And then of course in the Ukrainian war, West suspects China of supporting Russia through its no limits friendship. Okay. Now, the other things which I spoke, इन्होंने एक नया मैप दिखा दिया, जहां large swathes of continental and maritime territories of many nations have been shown as Chinese, including complete Arunachal Pradesh. It also China insists on showcasing its revisionist authoritarian political model to the rest of the world as a success. अगर आप देखेंगे तो पिछले 1-2 साल में बार बार बताता आया है, China is the best, our model is better than the democratic model. It was mocking the rest of the world during COVID, right? In the short run, its export-oriented model, manufacturing economy has already been severely hit. जो पहले slide में आपको दिखाया था, and that article came out just 2 days back. And there's no chance of reversal. ये हमने पहले भी इसके बारे में बात किया. अब मैं दिखाता हूं. We'll just talk a little about this APEC conference and the Xi Biden meet. What was the Xi Biden meet all about? The summit hit pause on troubled US-China relations. It has delivered only modest deals, very modest deals. क्या है? That military to military dialogue will resume. Fentanyl के ऊपर कुछ रोक लगाएंगे, कुछ effort होगा. And AI के ऊपर we will get to a common ground, but beyond that, nothing, because the basics have not changed. And these are all reports of the Chinese. These are not my reports. These are not the reports of the Western press. These are reports from South China Morning Post, where Xi Biden talks clear the low bar for success. That's what they say, but bigger hurdles loom. So this summit has been just showcasing that things are going on and all that, to keep things going so that there's no complete breakdown. A breakdown is not good either for China or for USA or for the rest of the world. And in this, we have to be very clear that we have to manage how we get out of this trap. And खास करके India is under a problem because our trade deficit with China is very high. So we have to be very careful how we have to sidestep China's decline. Okay, This is what EU feels. This is the feeling of the EU. This is not, you don't go into the other things. He says EU feels we were not hard enough with China. Right? They are regretting it. How they allowed China to come where it has come. Okay? In this, the EU leader, Ursula von der Leyen, she has very clearly told EU states, de-risk from China or face trouble internally. She is put out a diktat. So that de-risking is also going on. Okay? And then de-risking from China means the question is how far will the West go? How calibrated it can be? It is happening. There's no two ways about it. It is organically happening. Okay? So this is something which is a fact and this part of the geopolitical splits. Then you see the China's map, which the new standard map, where it has said part of South China and part of India is there, has been viewed as unlawful. So it has antagonized USA also. Everyone is antagonistic with this new map because a whole lot of countries have been affected by this. Their interests have been affected. And then this is their own commentary, which says Beijing's approach in South China Sea will badly backfire in future. Because in South China Sea, it is very clearly saying it is either my way or the highway. और किसी को छूट नहीं दे रहा है उसमें. किसी के साथ बातचीत करके सुलह करने का इसका मूड ही नहीं है. ओके, ये देखिए, ये भी है और उनको डर है कि साउथ चाइना सी में यूएस और चाइना का वॉर कभी भी छूट सकता है, कभी भी इट कैन स्टार्ट ऑफ. एंड देन दिस इज अ होल बुके ऑफ articles which says which shows the state of relations between Philippines, South Korea, Japan, Australia, Vietnam, Brunei, and all these against China. And if you see the headlines, I will not go through it. अगर आपको clear पता चलेगा कि these countries are now prepared, are getting into a system where they're preparing to, get into a I wouldn't say alliance, a partnership with each other to come to each other's aid if China invades them. And simultaneously, I must say, Abhi, as of today, we are doing a exercise with USA in the Northeast shortly, right? Or with our special forces. We are going to do 2 or 3 major exercises with Australia, around Australia. And all these exercises, let's be very clear, are to contain China. That is the level. In fact, if you see the level of Indo-US, Indo-Japan, Australia, these exercises, you will see there's a marked, upward trajectory on these in the past 3 years. Okay. Then, of course, our relations with India, we are very clear as to where they are. They are using Pakistan as a cat's paw against us. And they're now involved in Myanmar. They're involved very heavily in Myanmar, which is going to be a problem for us. Okay. Uske alawa dekhiye, EU has launched a probe into the electrical vehicle industry. Everyone thought that China's electrical EV industry will give them tremendous dividends and revive their economy. But EU has started a probe. Lack of trust. Because China is cheating. Very simple. Okay. Then, of course, the German foreign minister has very clearly said how China uses influence on Russia is the key to its ties with Europe. In fact, there's a report which I read just 2 days back which says China is now rethinking of its ties with Russia. Whether it is true or false, we don't know, but this is happening. Right? So, China is under tremendous pressure. and the limits of its power, overall comprehensive national power, is being shown out through this geopolitical splits which are happening all over. Then, of course, this is something which I just read. I just read half an hour back, and I took a snapshot of it and put it in. Malaysia is now going ahead with Australia to develop rare earths in Malaysia, because there's some cache of rare earths in Malaysia, and it has kept China out of the deal. तो अगर आप देखिए, किसी तरीके से आप देखिए चाइना का हालत, right? It is geopolitically at odds with almost everyone, all major countries. As a result, China's power to influence global affairs is going down. And of course, that is being absolutely seen it was seen in the Ukraine and Russia war, where it could do no influence. That war is still going on. And in the Israel-Hamas war, where no one is even listening to it. Right? So this is this aspect of a thing. Now again, we have to look at all this from a 360-degree view. We have only covered 300 degrees today with geopolitics. Next week, when we cover the military, we'll get the 360-degree view. And then, of course, we'll have a session to see what the whole thing is and what it means to India. Right? So with this, I've covered the entire geopolitics of China, where it is going. आपका प्रश्न है, we can start a discussion. फिर हम सवाल लेंगे जो आप सोचते हो करना है.
बहुत बहुत खूबसूरती तरीके से आपने दिखाया सब चीज जनरल रविशंकर जी, और हम पी गुरुस के तरफ से हम आपके आभार हैं. ये जो चल रही है इसमें इतने लेयर्स हैं कि आपको जब बैठकर सोचेंगे तो अरे क्या इतनी बड़ी समस्या यहाँ पर पैदा हुई है. कहीं आप देखिए, आपको चीन सिर्फ एक डायरेक्शन से आपको अटैक नहीं कर रहा है, वो सेवरल डायरेक्शंस साइमल्टेनियसली अटैक कर रहा है, खास करके भारत को. उसको हमेशा ये मन में डर है कि भारत हमसे आगे निकल रहा है, उसको किसी भी तरह से उस पर रोक लगाई जाए. अब देखिए 2020 में अक्टूबर में हुआ था, चीन ने कहा था कि हम आपके इलेक्ट्रिसिटी ग्रिड को उतार सकते हैं, रोक सकते हैं, कभी भी रोक सकते हैं. भारत ने कुछ कहा नहीं, क्या कर सकते हैं आप. तो उसके बाद वो डेमोन्स्ट्रेट करने के लिए अक्टूबर में हुआ था. ये 13 घंटों के लिए मुंबई की एक सेक्शन बिना इलेक्ट्रिसिटी के थी. तो उसके बाद जब उसकी इन्वेस्टिगेशन हुई तो माना गया कि देखा गया कि जो इलेक्ट्रिकल सबसिस्टम्स थे, जो स्टेशंस थे, उसके जो इक्विपमेंट थी, ये सब भारत ने चीन से खरीदी थी. जो भी हो, जो भी कंपनी ने इंस्टॉल किया है. अब उसके बाद उसमें और थोड़ा अंदर जाने के बाद पता चला कि इसके जो कंट्रोल सॉफ्टवेयर जो था, इसका एक्सेस भारत के बाहर से भी लोगों को कर सकते थे. तो इसकी वजह से ही इन्होंने इसको बंद कर दिया था. तो भारत ने उसके बाद फोर्टिफाई तो किया है. मैं ये मिसाल इसलिए कह रहा हूं कि आप समझते हैं कि एक आक्रमण होगा तो लोग आएंगे अरुणाचल से या लद्दाख से आएंगे. ये नहीं है. आज वॉर हो रहा है मल्टीपल लेयर्स में, मल्टीपल फ्रंट्स में और मल्टीपल टाइप्स में हो रहा है. तो ये इसके लिए भारत को भी एक कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव स्ट्रैटेजी बनानी पड़ेगी. मुझे पता है कि कुछ हो रहा है इसके बारे में, तो इसके बारे में 2 मिनट आप थोड़ा कि ओवरऑल स्ट्रैटेजी, इट्स नॉट वन प्लेस, इट्स फ्रॉम मेनी डायरेक्शंस. इसके बारे में आप थोड़ा सा जोर कीजिए, उसके बाद हम दर्शकों के प्रश्न ले लेते हैं.
इंडिया का जो स्ट्रेटेजी है टू डील विद चाइना चेंज्ड इन 2020. उन्होंने जब आक्रमण किया हमारे ऊपर, और जिस तरीके से उन्होंने सलूक किया गलवान में, हमने चेंज किया. उसमें हमने क्या क्या किया, कुछ चीजें किया. आई विल टेल यू व्हाट ऑल वी डिड. फर्स्ट, वी बैंड Chinese companies from bidding in projects. Not Chinese companies, all those we banned all nations which have a border with India to bid for projects in India without government clearance. And government didn't clear any one of them. That's the first thing which we did. Second thing which we did was we banned them from acquisition of or blue chip companies also, क्योंकि इन्होंने HDFC को take over करने का कोशिश किया. Then we were the only country who has banned so many Chinese
Software.
videos and apps, right? Including TikTok, which और किसी ने नहीं किया आज तक. Okay, and then we banned all their, what shall I say, their Confucius institutes and all. We just closed them. They're none left. Okay, then we went and stopped all Vivo, Oppo, all these people, mobile manufacturers who were, siphoning funds out of India. They have been put under, many of them have been, put under the cosh, and we fined them. And we have not let them enter our markets. So these are the few things. We have very clear strategy. We have an economic strategy in place. We have a military strategy in place. And then we started developing strategic partnerships with countries on 2+2 basis, so that our foreign policy and our defense policy goes hand in hand. And that has resulted in a strategic partnership with France. It started with USA, Japan, Australia, and all. Australia was a big revival. Then we went into Quad. Quad was a arrangement which we resisted going into for a long time. Right from the time when late Shinzo Abe wanted us to get into it in 2007. From then we avoided it. But finally in 2020 we jumped into it. Then we went into the I2U2. And we have also started going into places where Chinese influence has grown, and we have given them competition. खास करके Middle East or Africa में, right? So we have a clear-cut strategy as to how to handle it. And of course, we have our own strengths. We are playing to our strengths rather than thinking of anything else. And we have strengths in food. Food security is our strength. Food surplus is our strength. We are using it to good measure. So these are some of the strategies we have adopted to keep China at bay. And then, of course, our economy. We are the fastest growing economy on Mother Earth today. इसकी वजह से लोग हमारे पास आ रहे हैं निवेश करने के लिए, चाइना से निकाल के यहाँ आ रहे हैं. और हमारा जो PLI स्कीम है, उसके जरिए बहुत सैमसंग, एप्पल वगैरह यहाँ कारोबार लगा रहे हैं. और ये कारोबार जो भी यहाँ लगा रहे हैं, इट इज अगेंस्ट व्हाट इज देयर इन चाइना. चाइना में घट रहा है और यहाँ बढ़ रहा है. So there's a lot happening. It's a multi-dimensional approach we have taken. And you must remember, militarily, we have a second aircraft carrier now operational. And we are one of the few navies, along with the American Navy, to have done a 2-carrier operation. It's a very tricky thing for those of you who don't know. 2 carriers in tandem carrying out operations. When 2 carriers in tandem carry out operations, you cover a huge area. China has not been able to do even 1 carrier operation well so far. So that is the differential. When people say China will enter Indian Ocean and all, there's a long way off. So these are the few things which I thought I'll tell you, will put across. और सवाल है तो आप और कोई भी चर्चा करने के लिए है?
नहीं, आप दर्शकों के प्रश्न ले लेते हैं सर जी.
Okay. Anand says, I don't think Xi would have gone to the US without Americans promising him a deal. The optics of Xi's dinner with CEOs was not good. Do we know the result of the visit? The result of the visit is Xi Jinping came back with nothing. And everyone knows it, right? And he went to reassure people that, look, we will do business. Otherwise, if he had not gone, it would have been a catastrophe for China, because then he would have, the geopolitical splits would have been even more, right? And then it would have been, I wouldn't say end game for China, it would have been great disadvantage for China. The slide in China would have been more. So that is why Xi Jinping came. It was his necessity to come and to make sure that, he still counts. If he didn't come, that would have gone. Not everything will come in a result, direct result. Some of these things are, optics to show you certain things which are happening or not happening. You have to look beyond the mere optics of the thing. बोलिए, आप कुछ बोलना चाहते हो?
नहीं नहीं, आप आपकी बातों से मैं पूरी तरह से राजी हूँ। इतना मैं आप कह सकता हूँ, अगर नंबर्स अगर देख रहे हैं तो कोई भी नया इन्वेस्टमेंट अमेरिकन सीईओस ने अभी कमिट नहीं किया चाइना के लिए, कोई भी, जीरो, शून्य। तो ये एक बड़ी 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 मैसेज है कि देखिए आप जो कर रहे हैं उससे हम असंतुष्ट हैं। अब देखिए, आपने एक छोटा सा बात किया था कि ये सबसे बड़े लीडर बन गए हैं चाइना में। इसमें हाँ, एक और एंगल भी है। क्या वो ली केचांग की जो मृत्यु हुई वो क्या अकस्मात थी या और कुछ थी वो? तो उसके बारे में भी लोग पूछ रहे हैं। तो सबको ना थोड़ी सी एक नर्वसनेस है कि भाई ये आदमी क्या कर रहा है। तो अब ये एक चीज है। और ये जो 800 बिलियन की जो मैं जिक्र कर रहा था, ये बाहर आ गया है। इसका मतलब ये है कि शायद अमेरिका ने ना कह दिया। मैं ये डॉट्स ये कर रहा हूँ। जब कोई ऐसी चीज बाहर आती है तो
Yeah, I agree. What do you think about the drug war China is waging against USA? Are they doing anything similar to that in India? Yes, there is a drug war going through fentanyl, right? With USA. With India, yesterday I did this video on Myanmar and Mizoram, and this issue came up because where the problem is happening in Myanmar with China involved is in the Shan state, and that is the center of the drug triangle. Okay, so those of you who want to must see that video, which I did yesterday only with General Shokin Chauhan. Go to Gunner That's a latest video which I've done. Go through that. You'll get to know what is happening. We have a problem. We have a major problem, right? So that's what my answer is, because there you'll get the right thing. Jagannath Das wants to know about Qatar and L&T and all that. I've done a video on Qatar with General 𝙒𝙬𝙤𝙀. Have a look at it, right? The point is that these questions I'll not take now because today is with China. What I want to say is every Sunday I do an update and have an open hour where you can ask me any question which comes to your mind about India or whatever you want, right? And I'll answer it there. So Jagannath, I'll wait for you on Sunday and I'll answer this in great detail. And same, someone is asking about Kashmir, ye vagara vagara, we'll see. So many other questions. Okay. China did not have backing of economic stability and alternate soft power when it started to expand its geopolitical influence. Is it a lesson for Bharat that we should first win trust? Yes, it's a lesson. But the thing is, one of the USPs of Bharat is trust. इसके बारे में कुछ बात करना चाहते हैं तो बताइए श्री गुरु जी।
बिल्कुल. Let's do that. Yes. So we'll do a separate episode on that. Yes. Especially vaccine diplomacy, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's a major thing. We should not have right?
Yeah.
Okay. Rajan Ramkumar says, General RSG, as one who worked as a ship master for a Hong Kong Chinese company over half a century ago, I would not write off the Chinese dragon so easily. China, like India, is very large. I completely agree with you. We cannot write it off. I have always said, China will not collapse. China will not be written off. China will still matter to the world. China is a big economy. It's a huge nation. It's still 1.4 billion. जो मैं बात बताना चाहता हूं वो अलग है। आपने अच्छा सवाल पूछा ये कि मेरा आपको संदेश क्या है। संदेश ये है कि हमारे मन में ये कल्पना थी कि चाइना अगला सुपर पावर है, चाइना वर्ल्ड में नंबर 1 बनेगा, चाइना विल वॉक ऑल ओवर इंडिया, चाइना इज वी विल गेट डिफीटेड बाय चाइना लाइक वी डिड इन 62 एंड वी विल बी स्टीम रोल्ड। ये सोच था और अभी भी बहुत लोगों के अंदर ये सोच है। ये सोच को मैं बदलाव लाना चाहता हूं। आपने लास्ट जो सेंटेंस किया है उसमें आंसर है, चाइना लाइक इंडिया इज वेरी लार्ज, तो ये बात ये है कि इंडिया इज लार्ज, हम एक बड़ा देश है, हमारे अंदर इतना आत्मविश्वास होना चाहिए. We need to have the strategic confidence that we can put China in its place. If China steps out of line, we should be able to put it in place. ये भी मैं बताना चाहता हूं, 1967 we defeated China militarily in Sikkim, in Natula. 1987 we outmaneuvered them in Arunachal Pradesh. 2017 in Doklam we just stopped them. That was a time when everyone said PLA is one of the strongest armies in the world. 2020 in Eastern Ladakh, we blocked them and we gave them a good tight slap in Galwan. For the first time in the history of modern world, China backtracked by 9 kilometers. After breaking its own bunkers, it has never done that. I've done a video on this with General Sanjay Kulkarni. Okay. With P-Gurus, I used to talk earlier, but just these 4 events, I've done a video with General Sanjay Kulkarni, who's participated in one of these, events. In 1987, he was in Arunachal Pradesh when we did op checkerboard. That was the 𝗠𝙗𝙗𝘗 incident. Have a look at it. After 62, we have never lost to China. And yet, in India, we say China will walk all over us. ये क्या बेवकूफी है? ये जो कल्पना है और ये जो हमारा जो सोच विचार है, उसको बदलाव लाना है हमें स्ट्रेटेजिक कॉन्फिडेंस के साथ. That we are the growing power. Everyone wants us. Right? That is why I know China is big. It will continue to be big. But that doesn't mean we are small. Any views of yours, Sree Iyer ji, bataiye.
No, sir. I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. Then, yeah, thanks, Jai, for your super sticker. Okay. Considering lessons from China, would you say that the mix of exports versus internal consumption in Bharat is healthy? Yes, we have a very stable and balanced economy. Right? यहाँ लोग बोल रहे हैं कि we should increase our manufacture, we should increase our manufacture. इसमें दो राय नहीं है. But we should not become another China. अगर वो another China बन गए तो we will be polluted. There'll be, we'll face tremendous pollution. We should be a better Bharat, better India. Okay? So we also in the process, we should increase our exports because internal consumption in India will keep rising with our economy. And we should know that India is a consumption-driven and a services-driven economy, which is one of the best balances. But what we lack is a certain amount of manufacturing and certain amount of exports, which we should do. I agree with you. Yeah. Can you explain if this is the situation of China, how can they overcome US by 2030 in terms of economy? Jay, I would like to tell you that they will not overtake USA by 2030. यही सोच विचार को बदली करने के लिए ये वीडियो कर रहा हूं मैं. अगर आप देखिएगा ऑन द इकोनॉमिक स्ट्रक्चर का जो वीडियो हमने पहले किया था, इकोनॉमिक स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ चाइना, ओके, तो ये अगर आप जाके करना शॉर्ट में देखेंगे, देयर आई हैव शोन यू अ चार्ट बाय the Japanese Council of Economic Research, where they have said that it is not only in 2030, but even beyond that, the Chinese economy will not overtake the US economy. Okay, it's very clear. And so far, we are looking at the Chinese economy in a particular angle. How it goes further is something which we will have to see. So I will just show you the, what the heading of that. Yeah, this is the video. You can see the thumbnail and you will get it. ओके, इकोनॉमिक स्ट्रक्चर। इसमें देखिए वो जापान सेंटर ऑफ इकोनॉमिक रिसर्च का एक ग्राफ दिखाया है मैंने, उससे बड़ा क्लियर साफ जाहिर होता है कि this economy will not overtake the US economy, right? So that is what I wanted to say. So the next question we'll take is, yeah, what will be the role of China and BRICS in the future, given that their economy is shrinking and the geopolitical situation around the world? You see, in the BRICS, China has a slight advantage because Brazil, South Africa, and Russia need China. And plus, it has inducted, India is trying to induct certain countries which are its supplicants, which are tied to it through the Belt and Road Initiative. Okay? And what China is trying is to use BRICS as a medium. If BRICS gets expanded, as per China's thing, it will become an alternate. BRICS plus Shanghai Cooperation Organization will become an alternate to UN system. It will enable them to set different trade policies, and that which benefit China. That is why China is trying to propagate BRICS, and in BRICS try to marginalize India. But so far it has not been able to do that. Okay. Right. Now, okay. What is this $800 billion help aid? Xi is asking. Please explain the story. Yeah, Sree Iyer ji बोलिए इसके बारे में.
So, JBJP, thanks for asking this question. तो बात ये हुई कि जब शी जिनपिंग आए थे इनके साथ बात करने के लिए, अब देखिए इसके पीछे बहुत बड़ी कहानी है. यानी ये यूएस ने कई बार इनको आमंत्रित किया कि आइए हम एपेक के बारे में बात करेंगे. तो शी जिनपिंग तैयार नहीं थे. उसके कई कारण हैं. आप अगर आप पी-गुरुस के वीडियोस देखेंगे तो आपको पता चलेगा कि जो ब्रिक्स मीटिंग जो हुई थी साउथ अफ्रीका में, वहां से शी जिनपिंग इतने डरे हुए थे हवाई जहाज में जाने के लिए कि उन्होंने वहां से शिनजियांग को गया था. वहां जाकर वहां से कोई रेल गाड़ी लेकर वहां से वो बीजिंग जाकर पहुंचे थे. इतना डर था उनको कि कोई अगर मैं हवाई जहाज लेकर जाऊंगा तो ये जो रॉकेट फोर्स है वो लोग उसको मुझे उड़ा देंगे, क्योंकि वो वहां पर ये coup हुआ था. coup यानी कि पर्ज हुआ था. वहां के टॉप 3-4 कमांडर्स को निकाल दिया गया. मैं ये सब कहने का मेरा मतलब यह है कि अब क्या हुआ है वो देखिए. उसके बाद ली-केचांग की भी मृत्यु हो गई है. तो अब शी जिनपिंग यूएस इसके लिए आए हैं कि कह रहे हैं देखो मेरे सिवा आपके पास कोई नहीं है. अगर मैं जाऊंगा तो आपकी जो भी इन्वेस्टमेंट है चाइना में ये सब बर्बाद हो जाएगा. तो आप ये इस तरह की एक नैरेटिव ये लोग क्रिएट कर रहे हैं. तो वो देकर उसके बाद कह रहे हैं कि देखो मेरे पास ये है, तुम्हारे पास डॉलर है, तुम छाप सकते हो. ठीक है, आपके पास डॉलर है, आप छाप सकते हो, मुझे भी एक 800 बिलियन छाप कर दे दीजिए. ऐसा हुआ है. तो आप ये देखिए ये सब जो ऑफिशियल टॉक्स पे होते हैं इसमें ज्यादा देर रहस्य सब छुपा नहीं रहता, बाहर आ जाएगा. तो ये बाहर आया है कि इन्होंने ये पूछा है. तो जब इस तरह के प्रश्न पूछे जाते हैं तो यूएस भी मानने वाला नहीं है. खास करके अब नेक्स्ट ईयर इलेक्शन ईयर है, जनता बाइडेन को माफ नहीं करेगी. तो कई अभी चर्चे चल रहे हैं, देखते हैं. अब बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग बनता जा रहा है. नेक्स्ट ईयर विल बी वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग.
या नेक्स्ट ईयर इज वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग क्योंकि 2024 में अमेरिकन इलेक्शन है, ताइवान इलेक्शन है, बांग्लादेश इलेक्शन है, इंडियन
बांग्लादेश
और नहीं, बांग्लादेश वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर अस.
वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट.
ठीक है ना, वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. एंड हो सकता है श्रीलंका में भी कुछ हो. तो एंड और पाकिस्तान में भी होगा इलेक्शन. पाकिस्तान को भूलिए मत. ठीक, तो बहुत होने वाला है अगले साल. Geopolitically, we'll keep coming back with all this thing, right? We'll take 2 more questions. China is running a modern day concentration camp. Shritik asked this question on the 6th thing. We'll not talk of the final thing. We'll talk about it. There are a lot of space ambitions of China, even with the economy going down. Do you think it will still keep up in the space race, especially against Bharat? दाऊद जी, मैं पहले बताना चाहता हूँ, China is far ahead of us in space. Let's be very clear. Okay. Xi Jinping sees technology and space technology as a way to, circumvent the problems which he is facing in demography, technology, not technology, manufacturing, investment, vagara, vagara, vagara. So it has invested, and plus, you can't just leave a program high and dry in the midway. After all, China is not a stupid nation which is very small. It might be adversarial to you, but you should also recognize its strengths. Because recognizing the strength of your adversary is as important as how to knock him down. Okay. So we'll have this problem for a long time. And it is for us to exploit our strengths in space to achieve what we want. Okay. Uh, yeah. What will China do to regain its lost economic power? It is investing in military, it is investing in technology, it is investing in uh, diplomacy. And in technology, it is investing in AI, it is investing in cyber, it is investing in new materials, it is investing in space, vagara, 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 vagara. Maybe Sree Iyer ji, one of these days, will go through this whole story as to what China is doing to revive itself. Right?
Yes, sir.
It is also trying to shift.
Note.
Yeah, it is also trying to shift from a investment-driven economy to a consumption-driven economy, right? And it is having problems. So this is all these things, but we'll go into great details. Okay. Yeah, Ajay Nagendra, read that, go through yesterday's video, or you come back to me, on Sunday during the open hour. I'll answer these questions. Again, people are asking about Doklam and all these questions, all your questions. Come on Sunday on Gunner Shot, where I have an open hour. I'll answer all these questions. What is our strategy in South China Sea? Ramesh, I'll answer this in the next session, which is on military. That's going to be interesting.
Yes.
Right? Okay, this is an interesting question. Dakshinamurthy, is China having language capabilities of various Indian regional languages? If so, will they infiltrate in regional language, YouTube space? How is India countering such capabilities? You see, what China has one great advantage in India. We must understand that China is a communist nation. And there are a lot of people in India who have communist and left-leaning ideologies. They are helping China. And they are exploiting the YouTube space in India. Not directly, indirectly. So this is a danger which we have to, this thing. You see, just think, we have a chief minister who sends birthday greetings to Xi Jinping on Twitter. Okay? He's communist, so we have a problem. You have anything to say on this, Sree Iyer ji? Bataiye.
Well, all I want to add to what you said, sir, is that there was a well-known friend of mine who was a journalist, and he had talked to a leading politician in India. And this was about a week before CPIM was going to choose its next leader. And this senior political leader has links with China, knows about what's happening. And he said that this is the person who is going to be the next chief. And this journalist said, wait, the election hasn't happened yet. This is what China wants. That was the answer. So,
fine. Okay. Akruti Raika, the last question, I'll take this. She says, General Shankar, when US requires raising debt ceiling for government functioning, this cannot last forever. When there will be a reset, China will become number one, right? You have any views, Sree Iyer ji? Otherwise, I'll handle it.
This is a bit of a shadow and mirrors thing. The US has done a lot of quantitative easing where people said that this is nothing but printing notes. But US also has done quantitative tightening. They just invented that word to oppose what they said was easing, which is by keeping the rates high and continuing to do so. So US does try to right itself. At the same time, we have to say that as long as the United States is the reference dollar, 65% of trading using the US dollar is happening outside US, not involving US. That is the strength of the United States dollar. That's what gives US the dare to try and print its own currency. 2 cents. Sir, over to you.
Yeah, I agree with you. See, the US economy is a growing economy, right? It has grown much to everyone's distress, or rather to many people's surprise. It has grown, jumped from 24 to $27 trillion, whereas China has stagnated. Okay, so the gulf between China and USA is growing, actually growing. It's not coming down. So even if there's a correction in the US economy, China will never become number one. Number two, this is something which I'm now going off, and I'm going to explain something about China, which you have to view it from that direction. Everyone knows China pads its figures up, and it might not have $17 trillion economy really. Okay, that is speculative, but we'll still go with $17 trillion. The fact is, 30% of China's GDP comes from two sectors, 30 to 35%. That is property and infrastructure. Another 15% is from the tech sector. So total 50% of China's GDP comes from tech and property and investment sector. Now, what has happened in the past 3 years? It is these three sectors which have been hit the hardest. Okay, ghost cities. There's a collapse, there's a contraction of the tech sector, fintech, edtech, all kinds of tech. And there are huge corruption investigations on in banking and fintech and all, including Jack Ma was removed overnight. Okay, now the whole story is that with a non-performing element in this GDP, huge non-performing element in the GDP, I call it the dead GDP. It's not effective GDP. Finally, a good GDP is something which gives you return of investment. Dead GDP does not give you return of investment. See, notionally speaking, if you go from one place to the other, just walk from one place to the other, or go on a car from one place to the other, you expended a certain amount of fuel. The car has lost certain amount of value. The loss of value of the car and the fuel that you expended, and qualitatively the amount of time you have spent, add these three together, that is part of the GDP. Okay, it goes into the GDP. But if you have gone from one place to the other and done nothing, and you come back, and if you come back, you added to the GDP. Okay, you added twice to the GDP doing nothing. If you had stayed the same place, your GDP wouldn't have gone up. Since you have done this double trip, your GDP has gone up. Is that GDP useful to man or beast? Understand this. That is China's GDP. Because they built buildings. Those buildings have contributed to the GDP. They built rails. It contributes to the GDP. Their high-speed rails run at 25% occupancy. Okay, they have got huge bridges which have no return of income. They'll not have a return of income for the next 40 years. Let me put it, I'll qualify it why. There are places in China which are equivalent of Bihar, backward places. In those backward places, China has put in some fantastic infrastructure where there's no way it will improve anything. Dead. GDP has gone up, but what use is it? So there's this dead GDP which China will not get value out of. So when you talk of this, there is no question that China will ever become number one. Okay? So I think this is the last question I thought I'll take. I went on a tangent, but I thought let me explain to people what this GDP
yes, sir.
is all about.
Yeah. I have another program coming up in 20 minutes, so I need to give some gap.
Yeah, your final views. Otherwise, we'll wrap up.
General Ravi Shankar and dear viewers, see, this is an effort by General Ravi Shankar and I to try and bring you this little bit more in-depth look and look at the amount of preparation General Ravi Shankar has done. 25, 30 articles. We just saw all the references he put up. Imagine how much time it will take for you to, first of all, search, then filter, saying that ye sach hoga, ye jhoot hoga, because these days there's a lot of disinformation. And all this is being brought to you because of the wealth of the general's experience of having dealt with China for 30 years. That is what you get value when you subscribe to 𝗤𝙗𝙁 and 𝑝Gurus. And my request to both of all of you with folded hands, consider subscribing to us if you have not already done so. And I look forward to our next, and then where do things go from here? We are having this as a series of things. We are going to be continuously doing this thing. And General Ravi Shankar, you are very big-hearted, kind man, because you could have just done these things on your own, but you know what is best for the people, sir. I bow to you. Thank you.
Oh, thanks a lot. Please remember what Sree Iyer has said, referenced presentations. I'm not just talking of the air. And all these are actually articles with websites, references. You can go and read. I keep collecting them every day and keep cataloging them. I spend half an hour, 1 hour every day on this, part of my own education. Right. So thanks a lot, Sree Iyer ji, for agreeing to come on as 𝗤𝙗𝙁. I'm only a small channel. I have hardly a few people who listen to me. Right. I thought my message should go across bigger channels. That's why many times I go to Jaipur Dialogues, I go to 𝗣𝗚𝘂𝘁𝘆, which are much bigger channels with a wider reach to put out this message, because my aim is not to grow my channel as much as to propagate my message and confidence of India, that India is a far better nation than China, and be proud that you're an Indian, right? Wherever you are, it doesn't matter where you are, be proud that you're an Indian. With this, I think we'll wrap up. Sree Iyer ji, namaskaram,
Yes, sir.
good evening,
Namaskar.
and Jai Hind.